Hi, welcome back to my channel. I will be doing a series of book reviews based on the last few books that I read. I will post them maybe every 6 hours or so I don't inundate you guys with back-to-back videos. This video review is for Love People Use Things because the opposite never works. The authors are the Minimalists, and that is Joshua Fields Millburn and Ryan Nicodemus. Now, I have this as an audiobook arc. It came out July 2021, but if you were to buy this, you would be buying it probably as a hardcover. But this is just a trade paperback size audiobook advanced reader copy that I had sitting on my shelf for a long time. So I'm going to put the book down, but I will pop the book cover up on the screen so that it can just stay there. But with this particular book, I'll tell you something. Now, first of all, if you've been watching my channel and seeing my whipping chats when I'm cross-stitching, I've talked about this book in at least 2 videos. I talked about a couple other books in other videos, and I even have a video that is scheduled that talks about yet another book. Well, why am I talking about these books in my whipping chat videos? Simply put, I don't really have a lot going on in my life, and I don't really know what to talk about. My family life is calm, quiet, content. My therapy is going well, so I don't go out. I don't go to the mall. I don't go to the grocery store. So what am I going to talk about? I'm going to talk about books. So in this video, I have 2 things to show you. Again, the book and a little journal size notebook. Okay? Why am I showing you both of these? Well, we're going to talk a little bit about the book. Now, one thing I'd like to tell you really quickly is if I can show you no? Let me see, try that again. Oh, like there's pictures in the book. And I like that. I like books that have pictures in it. So I just want to show you that. So what was I going to say a few moments ago about this book or this type of book? Well, I don't read much nonfiction. I probably read 1% of nonfiction across all the genres that I read and review. And then when I do read nonfiction, I don't read self-help books. But that's what this one is. It's a self-help book. Now, the authors are widely known as the Minimalists. I did find out that this is their 4th book. So when I saw this book, excuse me, I have indigestion. When I saw this book, when it came in, because our publishers send me books all the time, like for example, these are sitting on my desk. I've got about 8 or 10 more in front of me. So anyway, when I saw this book, I thought, I'm never going to be a minimalist, so this book won't do me any good. But stay tuned. The first thing I'd like to do is read the back of the book. And we have a quote from Jay Shetty, who is the #1 New York Times bestselling author of Think Like a Monk. He says, "The minimalists show you how to disconnect from our conditioned material state and reconnect to our true essence. Love people and use things." This is not a book about how to live with less, but about how to live more deeply and more fully. Now, the publisher says, how might your life be better with less? Imagine a life with less stuff, less clutter, less stress, and debt, and discontent. A life with fewer distractions. Now, imagine a life with more time, more meaningful relationships, more growth and contribution and contentment. A life of passion, unencumbered by the trappings of the chaotic world around you. What you're imagining is an intentional life. And to get there, you'll have to let go of some of the clutter that's in the way. In Love People Use Things, Joshua Fields Millburn and Ryan Nicodemus, known to millions as the Minimalists, move past simple decluttering to show how minimalism makes room to reevaluate and heal the 7 essential relationships in our lives: stuff, truth, self, money, values, creativity, and people. They use their own experiences and those of the people they have met along the minimalist journey to provide a template for how to live a fuller, more meaningful life. Because once you have less, you can make room for the right kind of more. That is the back of the book. This is from Celadon Books. I'll for example, you can find them on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, just simply under Celadon Books. Okay, so I will tag them when I post this review. Now, it talked about 7 essential relationships in our life. Now remember, I'm going to reiterate, I thought this book was going to be about minimalism. Now, before I talk about those 7 essential relationships, I will say this. There is a chapter on showing you how you can learn how to minimalize. I just want to make it so the cat doesn't knock anything over. This book does have a section that helps you to see how you can minimalize some of the stuff in your life. Here's the cat. And that chapter, or those chapters, were very interesting, but this book deals with more than that. It deals with decluttering in a different sense. And so the book talks again about those 7 essential relationships. So as it does that, each section of the book, I'm trying to open it and hoping my cat doesn't knock everything over. You have, excuse me for covering my face, but you have the 7 relationships. You see them right there. Okay? So, and if we go to stuff, okay, first we have the preface, and then we have the introduction. But once we get to, and again, I told you there's pictures about them, and there are different things going on that they shared pictures of. So once we get past learning about stuff and having too much stuff and how to live with less and how to become, I love this word, let me read this word, stufficated. Are we stufficated? Okay. And then it talks about how Ryan and Joshua began to change their lives and how they learned how to live in a minimal way. And it goes on, and then it talks about what is minimalism. Okay? So I'll just read the first sentence or two. Minimalism starts with the stuff, but that's just the beginning. Sure, at first glance, it's easy to think the point of minimalism is only to get rid of material possessions, decluttering, simplifying, eliminating, jettisoning, detaching, paring down, letting go. Well, if that were the case, everybody could just go order a dumpster, dump all their junk, and boom, then they're going to be happy forever because they just minimalized their life. Well, no, eliminating the excess is an essential part of the recipe, but it's only one ingredient. Okay? There's more than just getting rid of physical stuff. And it really goes into why, and then it does what is most helpful for this book: love people, use things. So there's a different take on the minimal. As a matter of fact, it's a tattoo on his arm right there. So this is still in the introduction, but now we move into relationship 1, which is stuff. Now, I love this because he worked with different people who made changes based on their good advice, okay? Now, he starts off with a couple, Jason and Jennifer. They had money problems, but they had other problems. Their sex life was non-existent. Their careers were unfulfilling. They hid purchases from one another. They lied to each other about their spending. They ignored their creative desires. They took each other for granted. They grew petty and resentful. They were ashamed of who they'd become.
Here's iHeartRadio.
Echo, stop. Echo, stop. Sorry about that. Okay, so as they worked with Joshua and Ryan, things started to change. They let go aggressively. Within a week, their house felt different. Why? Why were they able to make their house feel different? Well, you'll have to read this to find out. The physical mess was dissipating. The visual clutter was reduced. The echo in their home was new. What was that sound of simplicity? So Jennifer, what did I say? Joshua? No, Jennifer. What's his name? I lost my thought. The husband. What is the husband's name? How did I do that quickly? Bear with me. Oh, Jennifer and Jason. I'm sorry. I didn't want to call him Joshua because I knew it wasn't Joshua. So Jennifer and Jason had a chance to reconvene and start their lives over again. And then this book also has boxes, gray boxes in the book. This box is Minimalist Rule for Living with Less. Now, everything you own in life could be placed in 3 piles: essentials, non-essentials, and junk. That was pretty. Okay, my cat. I'm sorry. Okay, so that's something that I am going to think about forever going forward. Okay? Now, for example, here's a way that we can change our relationship with stuff. If we're having a strong desire to buy more and more material things, you can say, yeah, I wish, but that jacket sure looks nice in that banner ad. So do those shoes in that marketing email. If you pay attention, it's everywhere you look. Hey, that pair of skinny jeans on that highway billboard, that shampoo on that television commercial, and so on. Advertisement. How advertising affects our view of stuff. As a matter of fact, how advertising makes us think we need things that we actually only want. So again, more gray boxes, more tools, minimalist rule for living with less. There's a just in case rule that they talk about. We're still talking about stuff. Now, what I love about this book and why I needed a little journal is there's sections in the book that have questions. Okay? And for example, 6 questions before buying. Who am I buying this for? Or can I afford it? Or what's the actual cost? So you have to evaluate those questions. That's all about stuff. And then as you get to the end of each chapter, you have kind of like a worksheet. And the first thing this tells you is to purchase a companion notebook to keep with this book for the exercises that are in these sections. The first relationship stuff has 5 questions. You take these questions and you take your journal and you honestly answer these questions. Okay? Okay, the cat's gone. That's all about stuff. The next one was truth. Okay? Now, I took truth to a different level in my life. I took truth as a way of talking about my failures. So I mentally took truth and replaced it with failures. That's how I used relationship number 2 in this book. So, but with regard to truth, it talks about the various aspects of what is true in our life, what is comfort is a truth, what is a real lie, and how decisions and mistakes that we make, how these things impact our view of stuff and our view of having more, thinking that we need more and more and more. So we get through truth, and as I was getting through truth, I wanted to just share. Sorry for making so much noise when I turn the page. So I took the worksheet part. I did a little red line there, but I did most of my writing in my journal. I took these questions and I took them and I made it about my personal faults so that I can have growth. So like, what is one essential truth you are hiding right now? So in my mind, I said, what is one essential fault I am hiding right now? Or how has hiding the truth caused discontent or hurt relationships? How have Robin's faults caused discontent and broken relationships? What is the worst thing will happen if you tell the truth? What is the best thing that will happen? And then there was the do's of truth and the don'ts of truth. That's how I took personal application to this relationship. Relationship 2, truth. Then we move on to relationship 3, which is self. This was helping us to learn about who we are and how social media affects who we are and how we overwhelmingly fill up our mind with stuff in the sense of negativity. Like we ruminate, we worry, we fret, we brood, we analyze, we stress, we agonize. That's what we do. That's the chapter on stuff. I love the chapter on stuff because it talked a lot about Joshua in his life when he was a child and as he became an adult. But I'm not gonna give you completely spoil it, but I do want to talk about the worksheet part. I should have just put little tabs so that you don't have to hear me turning pages, but it's well worth considering this book. So here we go again. Our 5 questions. Okay? And then the do's and the don'ts. That's about self. Love it. The next one, probably my favorite in this whole book, is values. Relationship 4, values. Values and boundaries. And that was something that was very, very, very helpful for me because our value system does impact our happiness, our level of contentment, our peace of mind, our healthy relationships, all of those things. And that's what you'll read in here. As a matter of fact, there's a seasonality rule. Well, what does that have to do with with values? You'll have to read it to find out. So I'm going to jump ahead and remind you of the 5 questions and the do's and the don'ts about values. And when you're identifying your values, you will learn more about yourself, about the boundaries that you might need to have in different aspects of your life, most notably relationships with others. Relationship 5 is money. Okay, so there was a lot of excellent information in here. I love this one. Most people are broke. Most people look good, but they're still broke. They spend more than they have coming in. They don't act their wage. They don't live on a plan. They don't have money set aside for emergencies. Guilty, 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 guilty. Okay? Very, very good. Chapter's about getting out of debt. A way to build a starter budget and pay off all debt. Right here in the pages of this book. Love it. So, fast forward, we get to the 5 questions and the do's and the don'ts of money. Then we move on to creativity. Relationship 6. What does creativity have to do with minimalism, having less, using less, and loving people more? Well, it talks about avoiding procrastination and distractions, even digitally decluttering. How can we digitally declutter? And then the don't upgrade rule. I have the iPhone 12, but then 2 months after I got the iPhone 12, the iPhone 13 came out. There's nothing wrong with the iPhone 12. I have the mini. There's nothing wrong with it. But I want the 13. Why? Because my daughter, Ariana, has the iPhone 13. So I have to pay attention to the don't upgrade rule. Because we're talking about creativity, money. Alrighty, so we have our 5 questions and the do's and don'ts of creativity. Then, relationship 7, the last relationship, people. For people, what I love this, the very first sentence of this chapter I've been saying in my head all day. You can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you. Wait a minute. You can't change the people around you, but you can change the people around you? Something for Robin. I couldn't change the people that I was around, and I got hurt in a social media situation involving a group of people. But I can change the people that I choose to be around now. I gobbled up this chapter here. Talks about personality types, introverts and extroverts. I have a book on introverts, but it's not right in front of me. I was going to pull it out really quickly, but I won't do that. So anyway, I like the fact that it shows that you have an introverted personality or an extrovert personality, but we do have a little bit of both. Everybody has a little bit of both. And then it talks about the 3 relationships in life: peripheral, secondary, and primary. Or should I put them in the right order? Primary, secondary, peripheral. Okay, let that sink in. We have 3 relationships in our lives. Grab your journal. Write down the most important people in your life and put them in the categories. Okay, I just wanted to say that slowly so that you could think about that. I marked this one, how to be yourself. You might be thinking, of course, I want empowering people in my life, but how do I know whether a relationship is good or bad, supportive or toxic, growing or dying? The answer is you already know. You know, we get cues. Then it says if you're wondering if a relationship is toxic, it probably is. Or it says a relationship is toxic when it's very harmful or unpleasant in a pervasive or insidious way. Does the relationship constantly make you feel sad, agitated, or upset, anxious, angry, or scared, guilt-ridden, chastened, or regretful? If you feel any of those things, it's likely a toxic relationship. So I had to mark that in the book. Of course, in my journal as well. This goes more into boundaries and communication when it comes to people. We need boundaries. And then we need to have several, elements of great relationships. They are love, trust, honesty, caring, and so forth. There's quite a few more. Then how we can deal with terror. What is terror? Terror is tolerance, acceptance, respect, and appreciation. Terror. You've got to read this book. Okay? And then the book also talked about 13 overrated virtues. Loyalty? Loyalty's overrated? Transparency? Comfort? Those things are overrated? Well, why? Well, you gotta read the book. Now, like I said earlier in the video, I'm not really into self-help. Yeah, I can go in my living room and pull off 30 self-help books off the shelf that hubby has bought over the years. I've read one of those. This would make the second. But doesn't mean that I can't go back and get some more and read some more, like How to Deal with Nasty People. That's one of the books that I did read. That is the only other self-help book that I read. Letting go of toxic relationships. I have very personal experience with this. What are the signs of toxic relationships? Disrespectful, manipulative, threatening, insulting, spiteful, malicious, hateful, malevolent, cruel, violent, and so forth. Those are overtly toxic. But what about mildly toxic, or subtly toxic, unreasonable, inconsiderate, unsupportive, disingenuous, pessimistic, I'm not going to read them all. I got to leave something for you to glean yourself when you read this. And then we have our beautiful gray box, Minimalist Rule for Living with Less. And then we have the Symbols of Love. And then we've got our beautiful 5 questions to fill up your journal. And then the do's of people and the don'ts of people. And then we start to have the acknowledgments, the epilogue and the acknowledgments, and the notes as far as any references that they have in this book. Excellent, excellent book. I want to thank the publisher for sending me this book. I don't know why I got chosen to read this book, but it's very, very, very helpful to me, and I hope that it will be very, very helpful to you. I will link this book in the description box below, but I will also let you know that I was able to get this book as an I checked my library. I was going to get my iPad, but I'm on my iPad. But you can get this as a library book. Wait a minute, let me just... I think I got it on Hoopla. Did I get it on Hoopla? Just waiting for it to load. Yeah. So you can get it as an audiobook from your library. I know the contrast is too high. Let me turn it down. So you can get it from your library as an audiobook. You can get it from your library as an ebook. Or you can buy it and you can get it on Audible. You can get it anywhere, but I suggest you get it. So I want to thank you for watching this video. I know it went long, but I think it was well worth it. I think that even though I discussed some of these issues or chapters in my whipping chats when I was cross-stitching, I thought it was important to make the video here and to go into this book a little bit more in depth. So I want to thank you for watching, and I will be back with more. Bye-bye.